Hello guys, welcome to MindMajix, and in this special session our trainer will explain everything you need to know about the Spring Boot. Before beginning the session, let's look at the topics you will cover in this video. We shall start with Spring versus Spring Boot. And we will continue with system requirements. Install and set up Spring Boot CLI. Spring Initializer. Install and set up Spring Tool Suite, and we will end this session with Spring Boot Auto Configuration. Please check the caption to jump between the topics. If you are new to the MindMajix channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon to get quick updates about the new tech tutorials, free webinars, and career-enhancing shorts from working professionals. Like and share the video. Without any further delay, let's start the video.
What is difference between Spring and Spring Boot? All of you, many companies are using Spring or Spring Boot to implement their applications, right? But nowadays, most of the companies are looking into Spring Boot to implement their applications because there are many features into Spring Boot. But as I already told you, so whether you are going to use Spring or Spring Boot, that depends on your application development. As I already told you, Spring is most of the cases we are going to use it in Java EE application, enterprise application development point of view. And Spring Boot is most of the cases we are using it to implement some RESTful services. So what are the benefits of Spring? There are many benefits using Spring because Spring can able to apply in all the layers of application development. Like for example, if you are implementing one MVC application, then you can apply Spring in model layer, Spring in view layer, Spring in controller layer. And Spring follows quite lightweight, considering it as the POSO model. A POSO is nothing but plain old Java object, and it allows loosely coupling and easy for testing. And Spring supports a declarative programming. Spring supports configurations using XML or annotations. And Spring also supports some middleware services with the help of AOP, aspect-oriented programming. But what are the differences? I mean, what are the features in Spring Boot? When it comes to Spring Boot point of view, you need to worry about server. In case if you want to execute Spring application, then you need to arrange some external server. But when it comes to Spring Boot point of view, you no need to bother about any external server. Spring Boot comes with embedded server automatically. And to create Spring Boot project, there are many ways. Like you can able to create it by using Spring Initializer. It is one simple URL that we need to pass some metadata information to create Spring Boot project. Or you can able to use Spring Boot CLI, command line interface, to create Spring Boot project. And in Spring Boot, we no need to add a lot of dependencies because Spring Boot supports opinionated starter dependencies. I mean to say there, instead of 8 to 10 jar files, we are just trying to pass only one jar file that is called starter dependency. So the remaining supported dependencies will come automatically. And Spring Boot supports auto configuration for Spring functionality. I mean, we no need to pass any XML code. We no need to write any annotations. Even though, I mean to say, instead of 3 or 4 annotations, we are just trying to pass only one annotation. So that is called auto configuration. A Spring Boot comes by default with configuration information. And Spring Boot contains actuator, which is used to monitor your Spring Boot application in every corner. And if you want to work with Spring Boot application, then these are the required system requirements. The first one is build tool. You can able to create Spring Boot project using Maven, that is 3.5 plus, or Gradle. You can able to use it. If you want to create Spring Boot project, so that should be supports either lot of containers. Like when it comes to servlet containers point of view, that is supported Tomcat server, either Tomcat 9.0 or Tomcat 8. Also, you can able to use it, not a problem. But it by default comes, right? You no need to worry about any server integration, because Spring Boot comes with embedded embedded server. Either it may be Tomcat, either it may be Jetty, either it may be Undertow. And Tomcat 9.0 supported servlet version is 4.0. And when it comes to Java, so never mission, either you can able to work with 8 or 9 up to 17, whatever the version, there is no problem. And Spring Framework is 5.3. These are the minimum system requirements to implement your application. Now, I'm going to talk about different ways to create a Spring Boot project. As I already told you, there are mainly 4 ways to create Spring Boot project. One is directly you can create Spring Boot project as a Maven project, or you can able to create Spring Boot project using Spring Boot CLI, or you can able to create Spring Boot project using Spring Initializer, or you can able to create Spring Boot project using STS tool. I mean to say Spring Tool Suite. Okay. So here I'm going one by one. The first one is how to install and set up Spring Boot CLI. A CLI is basically command line interface. This command line interface will help you to create Spring Boot project. Okay. So if you want to work with Spring Boot CLI, the first step is you need to download the CLI tool from the official site of Spring Framework. Here I already mentioned the URL. You can go through with this URL and download the Spring Boot CLI. Okay. So I'm just going to copy this URL or click on this link. Copy this URL and open any browser. Okay. So from this link, I'm just going to focus on how to install a Spring Boot CLI. Okay. See here. Installing the Spring Boot CLI. There are 2 procedures. The Spring Boot CLI command line interface is a command line tool that you can use to quickly prototype with Spring. It lets you run Groovy script, which means that you have to familiar Java-like syntax without so much boilerplate code. I mean to say, if you have any idea about Groovy, then you can create Groovy scripts and you can able to run those Groovy applications. But at present, we don't have any idea about Groovy, right? So that's the reason. Directly, I'm going to apply Java code itself. Okay. You do not need to use the CLI to work with Spring Boot, but it is a quick way to get a Spring application off the ground without an IDE. I mean, by using ID, you don't need to create any project. So the prototype will come automatically. So there are one procedure, I mean, two procedures are there. Either you can able to create manual installation or installation with SDK Maven. So I'm just going to follow the first procedure, that is manual installation. So there you need to download the Spring CLI distribution from the Spring software repository. So you can click on this first link, that is Spring Boot CLI version 2.6.6-bin zip file. Okay, so distribution is nothing but you can get some zip file and you need to extract it. The first step is you need to click on this link. So see here, now the Spring Boot CLI is going to download in our machine. It takes some time. That depends on your internet speed. See here, so it's going to download. It's around 13.6 MB, but I have already in my system, so that's the reason I canceled it. Okay, so I already captured Spring Boot related softwares into one folder, that is Spring Boot software, and this is the CLI Spring Boot CLI 2.6.6. It's a zip file. So after getting the zip file, the second step is you need to, after downloading, you need to extract the zip file. And the third step is you need to create a Spring Boot project using one simple command, that is Spring init -d. The meaning is dependencies. You just need to add the related dependencies, and you need to take the related build tool. Here, my intention is I just want to create the project with the help of Maven tool, and this is the Spring Boot project name. And with this simple command, you can able to create Spring Boot project. And the last step is you just need to import your project in Eclipse IDE and try to execute it. Okay, fine. We already installed, we already downloaded a Spring Boot CLI in our machine successfully, right? So you just need to extract by just right clicking on that, and there is an option extract all. After extracting, you will get this type of folder, that is Spring Boot CLI 2.6.6 bin. So here you just need to set some path by just getting the path up to the bin folder actually. So better to copy this file, I mean this path, and you just need to set the path. For that, you just need to right click and select the option properties and this PC, and just type system environment variables, or otherwise environment variables. Edit the environment variables and just click on environment variables, and you just need to choose the variable name, that is path, and click on edit button, and you need to set the Spring Boot path. Here you already set it. Okay, so the same way you also need to set, then only you can able to work with a Spring Boot CLI. Okay, so this step also completed. So now the next step is we need to create project, right? So I'm just going to create project in Spring Boot location. So Spring Boot projects. Okay, so here I'm just going to create one simple project. For that, just try to open one command prompt, and here you just need to type, as I already told you, the command name is Spring init dependencies. The required dependencies or web dependency, and -build. The build required build name is Maven, and our project name is Spring Boot demo app. Okay, just click on enter button. Something is missing. Clear the screen and check whether Spring is working properly or not by just typing one simple command, that is Spring space hyphen version. Yeah, Spring CLI, the supported version is 2.6.6, and better to get the help of init command. Okay, so here you can able to get the list of help commands which will use it to work with. If I want to create one simple Spring Boot project along with the dependencies, then we just need to write one simple command, that is, yeah, see there, -d. So that is missing in our previous command. I'm just going to type it, spring init -d. The required dependency name is web, and -build. The required build is Maven, and our project name is Spring Boot Demo App. Just click on enter button. See here, it is going to create your project. So by using the Spring Boot CLI command, you can able to create one simple Spring Boot project by just adding the required dependencies. Okay, and so it is going to download your I mean to say, you can check in your location. See here, Spring Boot demo app is created with one folder, and this is the structure. As I already told you, the prototype is going to create with only one simple command. I'm just trying to open this project with the help of Eclipse IDE. For that, you just need to click on import option, existing Maven project, click on next, and choose the directory. So that is in E drive. And the location is this folder, and Spring Boot videos and video 3. This is the name of the project, right? Just click on OK button and click on finish. Can you please check it? So the project is successfully uploaded into our IDE, right? So here, can you please check the structure? So the required, dependencies for our application development, all are going to add into form.xml. There I just added only one dependency, that is web dependency. Can you please observe here, dependency? So that is the web dependency, and this unit test dependency will come automatically with the name Spring Boot starter test. Okay, starter test. Everything is perfect, right? And after that, can you please check it in SRC main Java? So here you can able to get the required code of your application. So that is @Spring Boot application annotation, and our class name is demo application with some main method spring application dot run. Okay, as I already told you, Spring Boot comes with all the required Maven dependencies automatically, and it comes with embedded server, right? So for example, can you please check here? To be frank, we have not added all these dependencies, but it comes by default. See here, Log4j, Jakarta, Spring Boot auto configurer, Spring Boot, starter web, starter, okay, Jackson, and can you please observe here, Tomcat embedded core, Tomcat embedded EL. So all these dependencies, the supported dependencies will come automatically. So you don't need to spend time to create application with the required dependencies. So that is the great feature of Spring Boot application. Okay. So now what I'm trying to do is, I'm just trying to make one simple web application. So for that, what I need to do, I need to create one simple constructor, right? So in this SRC main Java, whatever the package is there, in that package, I'm just trying to create one simple class. The class name is, like, for example, hello controller, and just click on finish button. And here we just need to pass one simple annotation that is controller, and one simple annotation that is request mapping. Request mapping. Okay. And now here I'm just trying to write some simple method that is public string. Some method name is display method. And what my intention is, it need to display some simple information that is welcome to Spring Boot demo app. Okay, so need to import these two annotations by using these packages. One is Spring Framework.stereotype.controller, and one more is request mapping annotation. And here it is, the problem is spelling mistake. Yeah, written perfect. Everything is great, right? So now you no need to worry about this controller information. You no need to inform to dispatcher servlet. You no need to write any descriptor file. You no need to write any Spring configuration file. You no need to take the support of any dispatcher servlet. The controller information will be recognized by this application. Actually, you just need to run this application as a general standalone application. Then what happened? It automatically recognizes Tomcat server, and after that it automatically recognizes the controller class, and you can able to run your application. Okay. So if you want to return only this information, at that moment you need to write one simple annotation that is response body, response body. Okay, so just import it. Everything is perfect. So now what I'm trying to do is better to check whether your Mavens are your dependencies are properly installed and it's working properly or not. So for that, you just need to click on run as. Better to clean the Maven and check it what is the build status. So that is build success, right? So again, I'm trying to install all the Maven dependencies. So by using Maven install, so here some error actually, because the error is in my system. The problem is actually with some Maven compiler is the problem. So better to add some required properties of for my Eclipse IDE. So for that, I'm just trying to get it the required information from form.xml. I just need only two properties. Okay, properties is not here. So better to get it from this application. These are the required dependencies for me. One is Java version and other one is Maven plugin. Okay. So what's our current project? Our current project is Spring Boot demo app. So here just click on form.xml file and just add these two properties into the property section, because here I'm using Java Eclipse Neon. Okay. So maybe if you are using any other version, I'm not sure that the problem will come or not. Okay. So here I'm just trying to change the version as 8 and 1.8 and Maven jar. Okay. So now try to install Maven one more time. I'm going to say run as Maven install and check the status. Check the status. Yeah, see there, your Spring Boot application is running properly, no issue. Okay. Build is success. Build success. So now what my intention is, I just want to execute my application, which is created right now, right? So for that, As I already told you, even though it is a web application, you can able to run it as a sample standalone application. Okay, so to run standalone application, generally we are just going to choose the option run as Java application, right? So see here what happening internally. See here, the Spring Boot is started, but the problem is the server failed to start on port number 8080. Don't worry, if this port is not working properly, then you can able to change the port number, right? How to change Tomcat port number? Very simple. So there are different sections in Spring Boot application. One is SRC main Java, and other one is SRC main resources. In this resources section, you just need to choose application dot properties file, which is used to pass some externalized configuration details. To be frank, we don't need to set any port number, but 8080 is not working in our application. At that moment, you can able to change the port number by just passing server dot port is equal to, okay, is equal to 2200 is the new port number. Just save the program, and after that, I'm just trying to run the application. So run as Java application. And can you please check here? You will get some message that is your application is started on port number 2200 and in 3.198 seconds. So if you want to execute your application, just open any browser, and the URL is http://localhost. The port number is 2200. Okay, and slash the request path is home, or what is the path? I forgot actually. You just need to get it from hello controller and request mapping. Sorry, I forget to pass on path. So here I'm just trying to pass some test. Okay, save the program, stop the server, and start the server one more time by just running the application as a standalone application. Okay, everything is perfect. Just open the browser and type the URL, and the endpoint is /test. Just click on enter button. You will get this type of output. Welcome to Spring Boot demo app. How simple it is, right? We no need to bother about project prototype. So it will be created by default by just taking the support of Spring Boot CLI. Okay, and you just need to create some controller class, and you need to run your program as just general normal standalone application. Okay, this is the way to work with Spring Boot CLI. And after this, I'm going to focus on one more procedure to create Spring Boot project. So that is by using Spring Initializer. So what is Spring Initializer and how to set up Spring Boot project? So Spring Initializer is basically a web-based tool that generates the Spring Boot project structure. Same as Spring Boot CLI, all of you. So you just need to open one web-based tool. I mean, by using one simple URL. So from that URL, you can able to create Spring Boot project by just passing some metadata information. I will show you what are the steps are required. The first step is you just need to specify on which build tool you are trying to create your application, either Maven or Grid. Obviously, we are just going to take the support of Maven, right? Step number 2 is Spring Boot version dependencies are added based on the version. Dependencies are required for the project. I mean to say you need to add the required dependencies for your application development. Like if you want to work with web, you just need to add web dependency. If you are working with JPA, then you just need to add that dependency. And step number 3 is you just need to choose the language. Either you want to implement your application using Java or using Ruby or Kotlin. As I already told you, there are many ways to create Spring Boot project, and there are many languages support also there actually. But we are not familiar with Kotlin and Ruby, right? So that's the reason we are going to create Spring Boot project with Java language. And the last step is you just need to pass project metadata information, like what is your project name and what exactly we're looking at, the packaging like jar or var, okay, and package name, etc. Let's start with ID, sorry, with tool, okay. So for that, you just need to open one simple URL. So that is starter.spring.io. This is called Spring Initializer. Okay. Everything is perfect. As I already told you, the first step is we just need to choose the build information, whether you want to create Maven project or Gradle project. I want to create Maven project only, and on which language you want to create Spring Boot project, Java, Kotlin or Groovy. I want to create with only Java. And what the version, the Spring Boot version I am expecting 2.6.6. And what is the group? Like for example, home.spring boot demo. And the artifact name, I mean the name of the application is Spring Boot Demo App 1, because already Spring Boot Demo App is there in our IDE, right? So that's the reason I'm just trying to change the name. Everything is perfect. So if you want to pass any description, you can able to pass it. And package name, if you want to continue with this name, you can keep it. Otherwise, you can change the name as com.springbootdemo. That's enough. Okay, and packaging is what you are expecting, either jar or var. Okay, so I'm just trying to choose it as var file. And what is the version you are? I'm using only Java 8, so that's the reason here I choose Java 8. Everything is perfect, right? You just need to pass some information, just like MCQ questions. Okay, so after inserting all the information, you just need to click on one option, that is generate. Then see all of you in the bottom of your browser, your project is downloaded successfully as a zip file. You don't need to bother about prototype, right? So what you need to do is you just need to check it into the download section. So this is your application demo app 1. Cut from here, and better to keep this application in your Spring Boot projects. So Spring Boot projects, and the project name is Spring Boot Demo App 1. So what you need to do, you just need to extract it. Click on extract option. Perfect, right? So now just open your Eclipse IDE and minimize this current project and go to the file option and import the project, existing Maven project. Click on next option and choose the directory. So that is in E drive. Extract this E drive, and you just need to choose the proper location. That is in this folder, and the subfolder name is Spring Boot and Spring Boot 3 and Spring Boot Demo App 1. Yeah. All of you here, the problem is actually the packaging name is Spring Boot Demo App 1. There you can able to get the exact project name. So two folders. One is the root folder, that is also with the name, same name, and the project name also with the same name. better to choose exactly the project name. Okay, don't choose the root folder. Just click on OK and click on finish button and check it now. Spring Boot demo app 1. See here, the structure is same as our previous application, right? Like here, Java resources is there, src main Java, src main resources, src test Java, libraries, and as well as form.xml. And yeah, this is the form.xml. But I forgot to add dependencies. That's the reason I'm just going to add, because if I want to make it as a web application, oh, by default come with one. Yeah, no. So the dependency is only one dependency. One is related to Tomcat and other one is related to test. So if you want to make one simple web application, what you need to do, you need to add one more dependency, right? If you want to add it, just go to your existing application and get the dependency information. So like I want to make it as one simple web application. At that moment, just copy this dependency and paste it in your current application, that is demo app 1. Just save the program. Okay. And as I already told you, here I'm using Eclipse IDE Neon 3, Eclipse Neon. So that's the reason what I need to do in form.xml file, I need to add some extra properties, then only I can able to run my application. So that is, it supports Maven version, Maven plugin, that is 3.1. So the Java version is 1.8, no problem. But when it comes to Maven dependency, or I mean, Maven plugin, the supported plugin, that I'm just trying to add Maven jar plugin 3.1.1. So just add here, save the program, everything is perfect, right? Okay. So what you need to do is you just need to create one simple controller. So that is, see there, it comes with two applications. One is Spring Initializer and the other one is Spring Boot app 1 application with a main method, right? So now what my intention is, I'm just trying to create some controller class. For that, I'm just trying to create one simple class. The class name is like hello controller and click on finish button. There you just need to work with only two annotations. One is controller annotation and one more annotation is at the read request mapping annotation. So like I just want to test this application by just passing test as the path, and the method name is public string. Okay. Some display, this is the method name. Assume that any method you can able to take it. So return welcome to Spring Boot demo app 1. Okay, so just import these two required packages. One is controller and other one is request mapping. So here you just need to add one more annotation, because actually here I'm not trying to return our view to any view pages like JSP or HTML, whatever it may be. Here I'm not using any JSP. So that's the reason, or any template engine. So that's the reason if you want to display this string information in the as a response, then just you need to add one simple annotation, that is response body, and add the dependency, sorry, package. Everything is perfect, right? But here the problem is, I mean, so when I we just need to check whether the Maven dependencies are added successfully or not. So for that, run as, first clear the Maven and check the build status. So at present build success, right? And after that, I'm just trying to run as Maven install. Now check the status, build status. Perfect. We can able to see our Spring Boot information. Okay, so here also build is success. Great. No issue in our application. So, but only problem is definitely will get some error into your Tomcat port number, right? So for that reason, better to change that port number. So for changing the port number, what you need to do is in the SRC main resources application.properties, here you just need to write so what we need to do, we need to add the server port number. So with anything, like I'm just trying to pass the port number as 2022, okay, the current year. So everything is perfect. Now I'm ready to run my application. Okay, so as I already told you, even though it is a web application, you can able to run this application as a general standalone application. For that, what you need to do, so wherever the main method is there, generally what happens, the standalone applications will be able to run with the help of main method, right? So I'm just trying to run the application. So that is run as Java application and check the console. So see here, Spring Boot is running properly and your application started your Spring Boot demo 1 application with the port number 2022. So now what you need to do, you just need to check it by just typing the simple URL http://localhost 2022 is the port number and the path is test. See here, you can able to see the information that is welcome to Spring Boot demo app 1. How simple it is, right? And one more procedure, simple procedure. So that is how to install and set up Spring Tool Suite. As I already told you, Spring Tool Suite is just like one IDE. You can able to work with that IDE to create Spring Boot project. So most of the real-time developers, I mean to say, they are just going to work with Spring Tool Suite to create Spring Boot applications. Here also very simple. You don't need to bother about Spring Boot project prototype. So what are the steps we need to follow? The first step is you just need to download Spring Tool Suite from this following link. Okay, and there you just click on the platform which you are using. Okay, and second step is you need to extract the zip file and you need to install the STS ID. And third step is you need to Spring Tool Suite 3. There is some dialog box will be appear, that is launch button with some launch button. You just need to click on launch button, then automatically the Spring Tool Suite will begin. And after that, you just need you can able to create your project by just passing some metadata information. Okay, let's start how to implement this one. All of you, first you need to open any browser. Okay, so here you just need to type Spring STS download. So in this first link, Tool Spring, you can able to get the current version of STS IDE, that is Spring Tool 4. You need to choose the required platform, like what you are using. I mean to say what the operating system you are using. Okay, in my case, Windows, then you just need to click on this option. As I already downloaded actually, so that you can able to see the information in G drive. So I kept all the required softwares in one place, required softwares and Spring Boot software. So this is the IDE, STS 4.14 release. Just double click on that, and can you please observe here, this is the STS logo icon. Just you need to double click on that icon. Spring Tool Suite version 4 is going to start, and this is the default location actually. So default workspace. If you want, you can continue with that. Otherwise, if you want, you can change it. So what my requirement is, I just want to create the project in Heat Drive, and in this location, Spring Boot projects. So I just want to create in this location. So then just get to create one more folder, Spring STS projects. Okay, just select this folder, click on launch button. Now STS is going to launch in our machine. It just takes some time. That depends on your internet bandwidth. See here, so it's successfully launched Spring Tool Suite. There are many options to create your project, like Java project, starter project, or import Spring getting started. Content, or you can able to create a project. You can able to import a project. But what my intention is, I just want to create one simple starter project, right? Because Spring Boot starter project. Okay, just click on create new starter project. By default comes with this service URL. Okay, so ignore it, and you just need to keep some name of your project. So my project name is Spring Demo App 2, because I already created Spring Demo App and Spring Demo App 1, right? So you just need to choose the required build type, that is Maven, and the packaging is either jar or var. And the Java version, I just want to work with 8, and language is Java, same as Spring Initializer, right? And the group name is, instead of com.example, here I'm just trying to pass Spring com.spring boot, and artifact name is Spring Boot Demo App 2 version, and some description, demo project for Spring Boot. Okay, everything is perfect. You just need to click on next button, and after that, here you need to add the required dependencies. See, dependencies of your application. Like I want to implement one simple Spring web application, so I just need to add web, Spring web module. Okay, Spring web module. So just click on next, and after that, click on finish. Wait for a few seconds. See, is there import getting started content 26% is completed. Okay, 79. Can you please observe this bottom of your STS IDE? Okay, with some progress bar. So, right, successfully created Spring Demo App 2. Okay, so form.xml file, which contains dependencies. There I just added only one dependency, that is web dependency, right? And can you please observe here, the prototype is same or not? SRC main Java, SRC main resources, SRC test Java, everything is same, right? So servlet initializer, Spring Demo App 2 application. Okay, so what my requirement is, I'm just trying to create some controller. So with by just creating one simple class, and the class name is hello controller, and click on finish button. By just using two annotations, one is controller and other one is @request mapping. There you just need to pass the path like test, and here I'm just trying to create some simple method, that is public. The return type is string, display return welcome to Spring Boot demo app 2. Written spelling mistake. Return. You just need to import these two packages. One is related to controller and one more is related to request mapping. Right? Up to this, everything is perfect. Now I'm just trying to run this application by just right click on this standalone application and run it as a normal standalone application, that is run as Java application, and remind me later. And see that here also the problem is 8080 is already in use actually. Maybe in my system 8080 is little bit in ideal mode actually, so better to change the server port number, but just click on src main resources application.properties, and here you just need to type server.port number, that is with any port number, that is 2022. Okay, but I already used 2022 here, right? Better to start this application. We no need to work with this Eclipse ID right now, right? Because now we have STS ID with us, right? So just need to change the port number as server.port number, that is 2022. Now everything is perfect. So now I'm trying to run this application as a standalone application by just click on run as Java application and check the console properly. And all of you, can you please observe here? Now STS ID is successfully running with the port number 2022. So now what you need to do, you just need to open a browser and type one simple URL, that is http://localhost 2022 is the port number /test. I hope the port number is 2022 only. Yes, 2022 is the port number. And what about the request mapping? Yeah, here the problem is in hello controller. I forgot to display the response body because here I'm not passing with any view information. Okay, so I just want to display this string information directly into directly as a response. So that's the reason you just need to work with this annotation, that is response body annotation. If there is no view, okay. So now everything is perfect. Just stop your server and right click on your application, that is wherever main method is there, and run as Java application and check it. The Spring Boot web application is going to start with the Tomcat port number 2022. So now 2022/test, and can you please check the output? Welcome to Spring Boot app 2. So we successfully created Spring Boot application with Spring CLI, Spring Initializer, Spring STS tool. And same way, if you want, you can able to create Spring Boot project with as a normal Maven application. Like first you need to create one simple Maven application, and after that you can able to add all the different required starter dependencies in form.xml. You can able to create add all Java code in src folder, and you can able to run it. But so what my suggestion is, in these 4 ways, better to use STS ID, that because many real-time developers are following this scenario only. Okay. And after that, all of you, I'm just going to focus on about starter farm. I hope this is very important concept in Spring Boot, because before Spring Boot was introduced, Spring developers used it to spend a lot of time on dependency management. As I already told you, if you're not going to, if you're not going to use Spring Boot, If it is a Spring application, then you need to add all the required dependencies of your application. But when it comes to Spring Boot, you just need to add only starter dependency in form.xml file. So that's the reason this concept name is starter form. Spring Boot starters were introduced to solve this problem so that developers can spend more time on actual code development rather than dependencies. Spring Boot starters are dependency descriptors that can be added under the dependency section in form.xml file. You just need to add starter dependencies. The remaining supported dependencies will going to add in the dependency section. Okay. I mean to say starter dependency, you just need to add it into the dependency in form.xml file. To be frank, there are around 50 plus Spring Boot starters are there, which is used for different Spring and related technologies. So these starter gives all the dependencies under a single name. For example, if you want to work with Spring Data JPA for database access, you just need to include Spring boot data starter data JPA. I mean, up to Spring boot starter is the common one. And whatever the dependency you want to add, you just need to add only that name, actually, a single name. Okay. So that is the story of starter form. And what is mean by auto configuration? See, there actually we already implemented Spring Boot applications with 3 possibilities, but there we are not implemented any configuration related information, because as I already told you, Spring Boot by default comes with automatically. All the configurations will come automatically. It automatically registers the bean with @component, @configuration, @bean, and meta annotations for building custom stereotype annotations, etc. So for all these, instead of all these annotations, actually in our application, we just going to enable one simple annotation, that is @enable auto configuration, which is used to enable auto configuration feature. So if you are using @auto enable auto configuration annotation, enables the auto configuration of Spring application context, and it can be used to scan the class path components, and it is used to register all your beans. But instead of this annotation, all of you, we are just going to wrap it inside the one simple annotation, that is @Spring Boot application annotation, which comes with right. I mean, by default, it comes with Spring Boot prototype. So I mean, it is the alternative for @enable auto configuration and @component scan and @Spring Boot configuration. Instead of this, we are just going to write @Spring Boot application. That's enough. Okay. So @Spring Boot. So I'm just going to show you here. This one, Spring Boot application. That's enough. Okay. And when running main method, this annotation initiates auto configuration. So this can be take the responsibility, right? How simple it is. Okay.